Hi everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and I'm here with another Sketch Sunday video. Today's inspiration came from the My Favorite Things, their new blog challenge. This is the card sketch. I will put a link to the post below in the more information section. So this week's is going to be a little bit different. I did some watercoloring, some dye inlaying, some different techniques that I haven't done in a while, or I haven't done at all for Sketch Sunday videos. So I started off, let me show you the stamp sets that I'm using. I used My Favorite Things, Pure Innocence Serenity. This is what it looks like. I used the girl from there. And then I used the sentiment off of You Make the Day. It's called I Love That You Exist. And this is what the stamp set looks like. It's at the very top. I love that you exist. So I love the Pure Innocence stamps, and I usually do some paper piecing, but I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different. So when I saw the sketch, I saw that the main image was in a rectangle with rounded edges. And since I've kind of been obsessed lately with the stitch journaling card for Lawn Fawn, which is what I'm using for a lot of the projects. If you've seen some of my other videos, some of my organizational projects, I've been obsessed with this. So I used this and used some of my new Canson's extra large watercolor paper. I think it's 140, yeah, it's 140 pounds, and there's 30 sheets in there. And I ran this through my Cuttlebug, and it did get stuck a little bit on the edges because the watercolor paper is so thick. It's so much thicker than regular cardstock, and obviously than some of the regular designer paper. So I did have to cut off the edges a little bit because it was stuck in the watercolor paper. So the first thing that I did was I took that girl from the Serenity stamp and I stamped her in some Versamark ink, and then I used some Recollections ebony detail embossing powder. This is what it looks like. Shook it on, I heat set it with my Martha Stewart heat tool, and then I took the sentiment and I didn't cut it up because I know that it's fine. I know that when you cut it, you can still use it, you can put it back together. I just have a thing with cutting them. I'm so afraid that I'm going to cut the sentiment, so what I did was I just masked it off. So the problem with Versamark ink is that you can mask off the second part of it, but you have to use a different piece of masking tape when you go to stamp it down, because the Versamark is hard to come off of the stamp, and if I hadn't masked off the second piece of it, it would have stamped over here with a little bit of Versamark, and then my embossing powder would have stuck to it. So let me show you, because that probably didn't make sense. So the first thing that I did was I took this sentiment, it's right here. I love that you exist. So the first thing that I did was I masked off the you exist with just some washi tape, took the Versamark, inked it up, stamped it on the top line. Then what I did was I covered up that I love that with a different piece of, actually with the same piece of washi tape, inked up the you exist with the Versamark, and then I used a different washi tape because that had some Versamark on the back of it, and the letters also had some Versamark on the back of it, because even though you clean it, it still has a little bit of residue. So I just wanted to make sure that no Versamark that wasn't supposed to be on there got on the paper. So I hope that kind of makes sense if I explained it a little bit better. And then I shook the embossing powder over top of it and used my heat tool, and I got the sentiment. So for watercoloring, I actually used some distress ink from Tim Holtz, which is one of my favorite things to do, because you can get sometimes you can get some nice shading, and it's just a little bit, it's a different technique than just using regular watercolors or pencils with water. So I used the distress ink Shabby Shutters for her top. For her pants and her shoes, I used pumice stone. I put that down first. That's like a medium shade gray. And then I went back with some black soot in places where there'd be more of a shadow. It kind of didn't really come out. You can see a little bit of the shadows and the shading, so it's a little bit difficult to do. I'm not really that great at it, so it may not be difficult to do. It may just be that I'm not great at it. So just tried to give it a little bit of shade and light I used Antique Linen Distress ink for her skin tone. I tried to use old paper because I thought that it was very similar. It's kind of green, so I actually used it on the back. This is the color, so I didn't want her to look sickly, so I just stuck with the antique linen. I didn't use the old paper at all. And then the last thing that I did was her hair color, and I had gone with walnut stain first, and then I went back in with a little bit of aged mahogany, so that gives it like the little reddish tones, so it's brownish red. It's her hair, which happens to be pretty much the color that my hair is right now. So the next thing I did was I took that exact same dye that I used to create this, and I ran it through the middle of a piece of scrapbook paper. So I wanted to actually do some dye inlaying because I didn't want to have too many layers on this card. I wanted it to be pretty much an even card. So I did that, and then this will fit very nicely after we put the tape on there. It'll fit very nicely in here. And then I ran some shapes through my die cutting machine. So this circle, it's the back of this same scrapbook paper. I ran that through, and this circle is from, it's from the Sizzix Framelits. It's called a Card Circle Flippets number 2. And this is what the packaging looks like. And there's 11 pieces in there, and they have a bunch of different circles, and this is a stitched circle. So I just use, I think it's the smallest circle that comes with the die set. So I used that one, and then I used a star from the Lifestyle Crafts Quick Cuts cutting dies. I used the very center one, the middle part of it. The only thing you have to be careful with about this is there's no hole in the back like a lot of other dies have, so to punch the paper out. So it actually got stuck in there. If you look at the back, you can see, like up here, you can see how I had to kind of pry it out with my X-Acto knife. So I kind of peeled some paper off. So if you have very thin paper and you use the very center one of this, it's going to be very difficult to get it out. I was not very happy with that one. So we're going to, so that's it. Those are the pieces that I did. I didn't show watercolor on screen because it took me a while to do it. I like to do some trial and error kind of things, and I didn't want to start and mess up. So I figured I would watercolor off camera. But if any of you guys have any interest in me doing some watercoloring with distress inks, definitely let me know. I will make a how-to video, or how I do it. I don't know that my way is the correct way, but how I actually use the distress inks to watercolor. And the last thing I wanted to mention is I gave a little bit of ground for her to sit on underneath. I used the pumice stone with a lot of water underneath and just kind of gave her a little bit of a shadow, so it makes it look like she's grounded, not just floating up in the air. So I made a card base that's 4 by 5.5, and we're just going to start assembling it. So what I want to do is I want to take the frame, and I'm going to use my ATG gun. Put some tape on there. Just run the tape on the outside. My hair. Okay. Everything is sticking to me. Alright, so I'm just going to leave a little bit of a border around all of the sides. Not much. And then push it down. And then this piece is going to lie very nicely inside of here. It's a perfect cut. I did a couple of cards with this technique before. I think I just called it, oh crap. And this is what happens. My ATG gun has been giving me a really, really difficult time this time. I don't usually have an issue with it, but every once in a while I think you just get like a bad roll of tape or something that just doesn't want to work. Okay, so now I'm going to actually run some more adhesive along it. It's getting a little obnoxious that pretty much every time I have to use it, I have to restart the roll. Okay, So the more adhesive you put on here, the better it's going to stick, and I just wanted to try to get it to lay as flat as possible because I want it to fit nicely in here to make it kind of almost look like it was one piece. So that's the whole point of inlay. That piece just has a little bit of bubbled tape underneath of it. So there's that, and then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Zig 2A glue pen because I don't even want to try my ATG gun. And attach the star to the circle, and then looks like I'm having a adhesive issue today with everything. Nothing wants to stick. I think this might be actually my old my old Zig 2A glue pen. Let me try this one. Yeah. There we go. And then I'm just going to put it up here. Turn it so that the pattern kind of continues. And there you go. There is my card for this week's Sketch Sunday. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And like I said, if you guys want to see a watercolor tutorial, I will definitely do one. Just let me know below in the comments. I hope you guys have liked this video and found some inspiration from this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to leave comments or questions. And subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thanks so much, and I will see you again next Sunday for another installment of Sketch Sundays. Bye!